Stick around to the end of this video to hear a special offer from the underwear company of the century, my favorite, Sheath Underwear. Donald Trump's campaign most certainly is apoplectic, always on edge about what he's going to say next, what he's going to say next, what he's going to do next. But also, his legal team has to be on pins and needles constantly that he's going out there on national and by extension international television and just admitting to crimes over and over. Now that there's been a superseding indictment in the election interference case here in Washington, D.C., not to be interfered with by a judge in Florida, Eileen Cannon, Donald Trump is now doing interviews on Fox News with Mark Levin, where he's just openly admitting to election interference. And not only is he openly admitting to his interference in the 2020 election, he's also broadcasting to the world that he believes Joe Biden has the power as president of the United States and, as Donald Trump will say, every right to interfere in this upcoming election. It is just bananas. It's both a nightmare for his campaign and his legal staff. Watch this moment. Among many, I've got 3 other clips on top of this one that are just, one is more bananas than the next.
Whoever heard you get indicted for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it? You get indicted and your poll numbers go up. When people get indicted, your poll numbers go down.
Whoever heard you get indicted for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it? Where to begin? You don't have every right to interfere in a free and fair election, Donald Trump. And if you did, that means Joe Biden did. These two things are creating problems for both the campaign side of things, but also the legal team. Because anything Donald Trump says in these interviews can absolutely and will be used in a court of law before a jury to convict him of his crimes. You don't have immunity, and the new superseding indictment worked itself around the arguments and the new ruling for the Supreme Court. It wasn't his official duties as president of the United States to do what he did, to dispatch the mob, to try to insurrect the Capitol, the failed coup attempt, the failed attempt to overthrow the government. It's not the only one. A lot of people have rightly noted that Donald Trump thinks about the presidency as himself. Like when he talks about people being treasonous to the country or traitors to the country, what he really means is, and oftentimes he says it like he does in this clip, that what he means is it's being disloyal to him, he believes, equals disloyalty to the country or to the Constitution, the same Constitution he has said that he wants to terminate, as he's a dictator on day one. And in this clip, he's talking about the implementation of tariffs and that China, I want to get the number of dollars right, hundreds of billions, that China paid me, he says. Not the Treasury of the United States, not the country, not the American people, not we the people. They paid me. China paid me, Donald Trump, hundreds of billions of dollars. And it should tell you everything you need to know about where his head's at, about what his attitude about servant leadership is. On display right here.
And China paid me hundreds of billions of dollars. And then they say, oh, you're soft in China. I remember President Xi said, if you're soft on me, I'd hate to see if you were bad. And by the way, Putin said the exact same thing. If you're soft, I'd hate to see you bad. This is a good thing. You know, the press, if I said get along with him, great, the press would say, oh, he said he gets along with him, great. No, this is a good thing. This is a smart thing.
Even Mark Levin, the bootlickiest of bootlicks, the sycophantic nightmare that he is, just an absolute grundle butter craving lapdog. He even can't, he has to just nod like an automaton. Just nod along, Mark. Just agree. This is crazy shit that's going on here. Just agree. Weird. And then there's this. We know MAGA world to be absolutely detached from reality. They say things that are just bananas. They're just absolute insanity. And this is a clip where he's accusing Kamala Harris of being a nasty woman, the same thing he always does. But he chooses a person that she's treated nasty as evidence because she bested him in a debate in 2020 when she was the vice presidential candidate debating Mike Pence. And Donald Trump here says that Kamala Harris not only was very nasty and terrible to Mike Pence, but also to Brett Kavanaugh. But you'll remember that the Hang Mike Pence crowd erected a hangman's gallows on the lawn of the United States Capitol, just but 1,000 feet or so from where Mike Pence was hiding in the Capitol, hiding from the throngs of MAGA faithful who were there to murder him. But it's not Donald Trump or the MAGA crowd that treated him horribly. It was Kamala Harris who just beat him in a debate. And then there's the thing about Brett Kavanaugh, which we'll get to with a clip. Watch this.
But I agreed to all these things that I normally wouldn't agree to. Now they have Kamala, who they say has many deficiencies, but she's a nasty person. The way she treated Mike Pence was horrible. The way she treats people is horrible. But the way she treated Justice Kavanaugh during that hearing, in the history of Congress, nobody's been treated that way.
I mean, come on. What is there to say about Donald Trump, who called Mike Pence all kinds of terrible names and tried to bully him into violating the Constitution to tear down the foundations of our democracy? And yet he is just grasping at straws at anything to try to paint Kamala Harris as a bad person when he's blaming her, accusing her of the very thing he is guilty of, projection. And then the little line there about Brett Kavanaugh. Again, all he's talking about is the way that Kamala Harris dispatched Brett Kavanaugh in his confirmation hearings, not making him look, outing the fact, exposing him as just an abject dipshit, just a partisan hack that was unable to answer. He just crumpled under the weight of rational, normal questioning that should be delivered to anybody who's running or trying to be confirmed, nominated and then confirmed by the Senate to the Supreme Court. Watch this brilliant 45 seconds from Kamala Harris with now Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question. But
Male versus female.
there are medical procedures.
Okay. That the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body?
I thought you were asking about medical procedures
No,
that are unique to men.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make the decisions about the male body? And he flounders and I can't think of any, Senator. And now he's one of the most powerful men in the country, a justice, associate justice on the United States Supreme Court. But it's Kamala Harris who is mean to him and to Mike Pence. And then I'm going to finish with this because I believe this is the most dangerous thing. Maybe I should have started with it. And that is Donald Trump's continued bringing up of God and religion because, one, I've said you're going to see more of this, more unhinged of religious rhetoric from a man who is absolutely does not embody any of the teachings of Jesus Christ, has zero understanding of the scripture, of the Bible, of the history, of the philosophies that are taught within the New Testament. No idea. Doesn't even know the proper names of the books within the New Testament. And here he's waxing religious about what God does or doesn't want and how God has chosen him and has a plan for him. Again, it's all about him, not about the country. And it goes off the rails. And this is dangerous because it gives people who want to believe Donald Trump and use religion to do so, it gives them permission to act as disagreeably and as disgracefully and as dangerously as they can because they feel like they have permission from their higher power. And that's a problem. Watch this.
But no, I think you think like, if you believed in God, you believe in God more. And somebody said, like, why? And I'd like to think that God thinks that I'm going to straighten out our country. Our country is so sick, and it's so broken. Our country is just broken. And maybe that was the reason. I don't know.
It is low energy time for the little Donnie there. I can tell you that something has gone flipped. There's been a switch flipped in Donald Trump's brain. But for a presidential candidate, a Republican who claims to love the country and love the Constitution and hugs the flag, to sit there and disparage the United States of America, the country he wants to once again lead, is just weird. And that there's millions of Republican voters out there who are like, yeah, our country is sick. It is sick. These people who claim to be patriots yet want to tear down at what and who we are. It just says that it is no longer a political party. It's a religious cult with Donald Trump at the top. Bizarre. Anyway, as always, I would throw the conversation to you. You can comment below. That'll help the YouTube algorithm to do its thing. You can also leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054, or you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. I'd love to see you there. And stick around. Again, the mighty Sheath Underwear has a great offer for you. We are once again faced with a pivotal year. And while we don't have control over everything, we as individuals can affect real change. Am I talking about voting? Sure, of course I am. But I'm also obviously talking about underwear. In a world so rich with options, why would we ever settle for second-rate skivvies? My 2024 pick for Department of the Interior is Sheath underwear. Sheath is the only underwear with a dual pouch system scientifically designed to keep your president separated from his cabinet. If you catch my drift. Come on, man. Invented by a U.S. Army veteran while serving a tour in Iraq, the idea from Sheath arose from discomfort in harsh environments. As a former Marine stationed in that part of the world, I get the inspiration. I wear sheaths every day. They're the only boxers that can agreeably accommodate my tree trunk thighs while also keeping my jewels carefully compartmentalized. While I'm not the only person choosing them, sheaths are recommended by multiple doctors and urologists and have over 20,000 five-star reviews. It's time to democratize your drawers. Head to sheathunderwear.com/Dollemore right now and score 20% off right away. I personally am an airflow mesh guy, but Sheath has tons of excellent styles and designs. And once you pick, Sheath will land them on your doorstep near instantly thanks to blindingly fast shipping and amazing customer service. Additionally, your purchase actually does affect positive change. Sheath supports multiple charities like Socks for Soldiers and Doctors Without Borders, so you're making positive choices for the world too. Upgrade your undergarments. Score 20% off right now when you head to sheathunderwear.com/Dollemore. Real change starts with you and your package.